And that born in mind, let's get ourselves ready to go here. Dr. Pamela Fergusson is an RD with a PhD in nutrition. She has worked as a lecturer in nutrition at the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine in the UK and Ryerson University, Canada, and has worked as a dietitian in North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia for organizations such as UNICEF and the World Food Program.
Dr. Fergusson is fascinated by nutrition and loves to bring wellness and fitness into her own life. She eats a whole foods, plant-based diet and loves to cook and bake with her 4 children. Without further ado, Dr. Pamela Fergusson. Hello, Calgary. What a fantastic event this is. I can't believe how many people are here for this beautiful event, and we should be so proud to see the support here in this city. You know, I'm not from Calgary, and I've got to say that Alberta has a bit of a reputation in the rest of Canada as being meat-loving province, and it's so wonderful to see people waking up to the value of plants, to see so many out here having a great time, eating vegan food, and learning more about the benefits for all of us. So thanks for being here and for supporting. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 of the key questions that I get in my practice all the time, and that will really help us to get some of those, underpinning issues behind the health and wellness benefits of a plant-based diet. So just to start out, just to get a feel for the room, I just want to see how many of you out here are eating right now, you're eating a plant-based diet or a vegan diet. How many of you are doing that right now? Yeah? Fantastic. I love that. How wonderful to see that. And how many of you are not completely vegan? Maybe you're eating a partly plant-based diet, but you're still including some animal products. Please don't be shy to raise your hand. How many? Are there a few? I love it. You know what? I love it even more that you are here. You're actually even more important to this movement, the fact that we have people here who are open, you're interested, maybe you are reducing your animal product intake, you're here checking it out. I love that. I love to hear from people who are on that journey. So fantastic that you're here. And I'm going to start out by saying why I am vegan. I get asked that a lot of times. Why did I go vegan? You'll meet a lot of dietitians that are not vegan, and you just think, oh, here's a vegan dietitian. What was it that kind of tipped it over for you? What made you go vegan? And for me, there are 3 main reasons why I am vegan. I actually first became vegetarian when I was in college after reading Diet for a Small Planet. That's an old book, but it really did open up the idea to me that what we eat means more than just nutrition. Eating is actually a political act, and that what we choose has an impact. Every dollar that we spend on food is a dollar spent to say what kind of food system we want, what kind of world we want to see existing, and we have so much power as consumers. So I became a vegetarian. I've got to say I didn't know a lot about veganism, yet that was more than 20 years ago, and veganism was not as mainstream as it is now. I became vegetarian, and I was excited about the idea, oh wow, if we were to reduce the animal products that we're eating, then there's going to be more food for everyone, because if everyone eats plants, then that's more sustainable way to feed the world. And I was excited about that. And then I started, you might have heard in the introduction, I did my PhD research in Africa. I started working a lot more with hunger and malnutrition issues. And I was like, oh, I see now that this is more complicated than that. I need to do more research. I need to understand this better. And I kind of lost my way a little bit, I will say, with being vegan, with being vegetarian. And it wasn't until I finished my PhD and decided I wanted to go into private practice after teaching at university for a few years. And I was saying, what do we really need? What do the people in Canada really need in terms of nutrition? What's happening? You know, the big diseases that we see, heart disease, diabetes, you know, what do people need in terms of nutrition? I started doing the research and I saw, wow, people need to be eating more plants. All the research that I was reading, all of the big studies were saying more fruits and vegetables, higher fiber. And I thought, well, what am I doing? I'm not even vegan. You know, I'm not even eating a fully plant-based diet. Doing that research changed my perspective. I went fully vegan and started really being ready to support clients in my practice with that. And my reasons were for the environment. My reasons were for, you know, world hunger. My reasons were for my own health. But I'm just going to speak to, for a moment, that at the beginning anyway, I was not switched on to animal rights issues. I grew up in an agricultural family, and, you know, these were my family. These were like, you know, my grandfather was a dairy farmer. My uncle and my cousins are beef farmers. And I was like, I grew up as a very compassionate child, but I kind of pushed that away and thought, no, that must be wrong. That's not, you know, a strong way to act or a mature or adult way to think. But I want to tell you that that is absolutely wrong. There's a lot of strength in compassion. And once I was ready to challenge that and say, no, actually the way that we're treating animals in the agricultural industry, it's wrong. It's really wrong. And that is now one of the strongest reasons for me to be vegan. Is the fact that, because, you know, if you're eating plant-based for your health or for the environment, being 90% or 95% plant-based is great. But when it comes to animal rights, for me, it has to be 100%. And compassion is absolutely a strength. Look at this whole event here. This event was created by the vision and drive and compassion of young women. So don't let, you know, your compassion be seen as a weakness. It's a strength. So that's, you know, why I am vegan. And that kind of segues nicely into my next question. And I think the main reason why we're here to listen to this is, what are the health benefits of a plant-based diet? And let me tell you, all of the research is going to tell you, all of the big studies are going to tell you that a plant-based diet is going to reduce your risk of all of Canada's major diseases. I'm going to bet, my father has diabetes, my grandfather had diabetes, I think my brother is on target to have diabetes soon. I hate to say that, but that is the truth. And so I am in a family affected by diabetes and heart disease. I bet everyone here has someone that's close to them that has diabetes or heart disease. It's such a prevalent issue in Canada. And one of the biggest things we could all be doing to reduce our risk is to eat a plant-based diet. Now, what do I mean when I say plant-based? Because, you know, we're saying plant-based, we're saying vegan. Is this the same thing? So I would suggest, if you are interested in the health benefits of avoiding animal products, then eating a predominantly whole food plant-based diet is the way to get those benefits. Now, there are some amazing vegan treats here today. I saw some gorgeous big plates of donuts, and I've eaten some beautiful nachos. They're on my Instagram stories. They're gorgeous, wonderful food, and it's wonderful to celebrate with delicious vegan food. Because I'm sure you've seen this, whether you're vegan or not, going out to restaurants here in Calgary, or whether you've been shopping. Who here has eaten a Beyond Burger? Has anyone tried them? Yeah, excellent. So, you know, there are so many vegan products, and basically now, any indulgent, gorgeous, beautiful food that you want to try that is something maybe you were familiar with from when you ate animal products, you can get it just as good, or I'm going to say even better, plant-based vegan products now. They're just everywhere. There's anything you can make, I can make vegan and make it better. So that's wonderful, and that absolutely, we can celebrate that. But 20 years ago, going vegan meant that probably every day you ate lentils and tofu and veggies, and there just really wasn't much in the way of vegan cheeses or burgers, or if it was a burger, it was a black bean burger, that kind of thing. So that's great for your health. So I do just want, if you're here and you're excited about the health benefits of a plant-based diet, remember that you're getting those benefits from whole foods mostly. I'm not saying you should never eat those vegan brownies, but if you want the health benefits, it's about the fruits and vegetables. It's about the beans and lentils. It's about the nuts and seeds and the whole grains, okay? So we thought of 4 food groups before. These are the 4 food groups now that I want you to remember, okay? And choosing foods from across that range of foods. You don't have to just, eat one or another of those groups. Eating all of those will get you the range of nutrition and nutrients. If there is one thing, maybe especially for the people in the room here who are not fully vegan, if there's one thing that you could do to improve your health, it would be to eat a high fiber diet. Now, fiber only comes from plants, so that's just by necessity. That high fiber means that it will be plant-based. But choosing those products, and how wonderful that this year Canada's food guide was updated and it now reflects exactly the advice that I just was sharing right now. So this time, for the first time, Health Canada said that when they were updating the food guide, they were not going to consult with industry. How wonderful that the food guide is now based on the science of what is best for our health, not what is best for the agricultural industry. Okay, so that's what happened, and now we are seeing that the food guide has removed dairy as a food group. So Canada's food guide used to tell us we had to have dairy every day. Now, dairy is no longer a food group, and they're suggesting that when we choose protein, we should choose plant-based sources of protein more often. Plant-based sources of protein. That's your best sources will be lentils and beans. So hummus, make yourself a nice big bean chili, lentil tacos. These are wonderful sources. Tofu. These are wonderful sources of plant-based protein. Nuts and seeds. Anyone out here, maybe somebody who, they themselves, you're not vegan, or maybe you've got family members that aren't vegan and they're just, oh, this weird vegan food, I don't want this. Everybody's eaten at least one vegan meal. Come on, I mean, a peanut butter and jam sandwich, even. You've had something vegan, you've had a vegan meal in your life. And we're now recognizing that vegan food it's not weird, it's mainstream, and it's easy to incorporate those products into your diet, to choose those plant-based sources of protein. This year, the Eat Lancet Commission was released, and that was 30 scientists, top scientists from around the world, and they recommended that we should be eating a more plant-based diet. So really, we're seeing this movement. Global research is, we've got the cadets are cheering for me in the back here. So I want just to close on the health benefits with saying that a plant-based diet is the only diet that has been proven to actually be able to reverse heart disease and diabetes, okay? So I became a dietitian because I was excited about the idea of preventing disease. I didn't like it how the whole medical world is all around reacting, waiting until people already have developed a disease, and then they treat them with medicine, usually, or operations. I was like, why don't we prevent it instead? And do you know that 80% of chronic disease has at least partially nutrition as partially the cause? So that means if we improve our health, and here I'm saying a plant-based diet, we can prevent up to 80% of disease. And this doesn't mean that eating a plant-based diet, it's a guarantee that you will never get sick, but it is one of the most powerful things that you personally can be doing to improve your health and reduce your risk of all of these chronic diseases, and even reverse it. And that's just so amazing. Has anyone heard of the work of Dr. Esselstyn? Yeah, Forks Over Knives. Maybe you've seen his work there on that documentary. So amazing. These are people who needed bypass surgery, and just by changing their diet, they were able to completely reverse their heart disease. And I really like the quote by Dr. Esselstyn where he says, people will say that, I couldn't go vegan. That's too, dramatic a change. I couldn't go vegan. But what is actually a dramatic change is to cut someone's chest open with a saw and operate on them to fix their heart. So instead, if we can just eat plants, how much better is that than a lifetime of surgeries and medications? So I want to also then move on to something else that was really important to me in my work as a dietitian, and that is the question, is eating a plant-based diet better for the environment? So I said at the start that, our food choices absolutely have a big impact on our health. Everything we eat is making a difference in terms of our health. But we're also, as citizens of Canada and global citizens, every time we purchase food or grow food, we are making a difference to the environment as well. And a plant-based diet is definitely, eating a plant-based diet is one of the most powerful things that we as individuals can do to, we're going to get more people because I think the weather is getting worse. Eating a plant-based diet is one of the most powerful things that you as an individual can do in order to improve your impact on the environment. So, I'll hear a lot of, we can't really change anything. It's the corporations that need to change. And that's absolutely true. The corporations do need to change. But we can change things too. We do have an impact. And your diet is one of the biggest things. Now, how does eating plants impact on the environment? Well, one of the main reasons is because eating a plant-based diet has a lot lower greenhouse gas emissions. That includes methane. Methane comes from cow farts and cow burps. And this gas is being released into our atmosphere, and it is contributing to climate change. By eating plants instead, we are dramatically reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. We're also reducing our impact on water use. So water resources, it takes much less water to grow plants than it does to feed animals. And the reason for this mostly is because of all of the feed that it takes to grow an animal. Because it is a very inefficient system to feed grain to cattle and then let the cattle try to gain the weight that they need to become this huge animal. Then they're killed, slaughtered, and people eat the meat from that animal. But it is actually much more efficient to just directly eat the grain to begin with. This is a much more efficient system in terms of getting calories, getting protein. It's much more efficient to just eat the grains ourselves. And a final reason is because of land use. And this is I think we're just starting to understand what's happening we are in the midst of a global extinction right now. And, I think around 1 million species of animals and, animals are at risk right now of going extinct. And one of the big reasons for this is land use. Do you know that right now, every minute in the Amazon rainforest, every minute, 27 football fields worth of land are cleared and destroyed. And a lot of that is happening for agriculture. And how many people have heard the idea of, vegans are eating all that soy, and soy's destroying the environment because, they're growing it in the Amazon. Now, there is soy being grown in the Amazon, and yes, it is bad for the environment. That is true, to cut down wild rainforests and to grow soy. But you know what most of that soy is being used for? It's being used for animal feed instead. So remember that if someone ever attacks you for eating tofu and says it's not good for the environment, most of that soy is actually used for animal feed. So in terms of water use, land use, greenhouse gases, and also in thinking about our global extinction process that we're involved in right now, it is definitely much better for the environment to eat a plant-based diet. Now, can we meet all of our nutritional needs through plants? We get attacked for this one sometimes. People say, being vegan isn't natural because you need to have B12. You can't get B12 on a vegan diet. That means it's not a natural human diet. So you can't meet all your needs. The thing is that B12 is actually bacterially produced. B12 is not produced by mammals. So we're mammals. We don't produce B12. Well, actually, we ferment a tiny amount, but we don't produce enough in order to meet our needs, right? We got to get B12 from our diet or from supplements. But did you know that also other mammals, including cattle, for example, or sheep, they cannot produce B12 either. So they eat B12 in the form of bacteria because they don't triple wash their vegetables before they eat them. And they get stored in their tissues. And then if people eat the meat of an animal, then they're consuming the B12 that is bacterially produced. It's just stored in their tissues. And in fact, most farmers will supplement their animals with B12. They give them like a mineral supplement, same as us taking a supplement, because B12 deficiency is common amongst farmed animals. So for people who say, I need to eat a steak to get my B12, and you have to take a supplement, so that means a vegan diet isn't a valid human diet. Actually, they're just getting their B12 through the bacteria in animal tissues, which mostly came as supplements anyway. So the other thing that I'm always hearing is protein. Where do you get your protein? There's not enough protein on a vegan diet. Well, I think everyone here who is vegan or is mostly plant-based, if you're here and you're wondering about protein, I just want to put your mind at ease. If you're eating enough calories and you're eating a range of foods, and we talked about fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, lentils and beans, whole grains, there is protein in all of those foods. And throughout the day, you will be consuming protein. And as is recommended by Canada's Food Guide now, you will be, if you're choosing plant-based sources of protein more often, you'll be getting the fiber benefits as well as the protein. I think we've all seen vegan bodybuilders. Now I think we're getting, Dominic Thompson is coming to speak today, which is great. He promotes a plant-based diet and bodybuilding. We've all seen these muscly men and women who eat a vegan diet. There's lots of vegans that aren't muscly too, and that's also great. Vegans come in all shapes and sizes, and that's fantastic. But we can all certainly get enough protein. And in fact, eating an excess of protein, particularly a very high animal protein diet, is actually inflammatory and disease promoting. So we're obsessed with protein right now in our society. Well, hopefully we are not, but our society is. And yet they're really going after the wrong thing, when in fact what we have in Canada is a fiber deficiency. Only 5% of Canadians meet their fiber requirements. And like I said before, if you eat a high fiber diet, that's the one most important thing you can do to reduce your risk of disease. Fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, plants. That is the way to reduce your risk of disease and get lots of fiber in your diet. So you can easily meet all of your nutritional needs with a varied plant-based diet. Okay? And if you have seen scary stories in the news about, vegans who got sick, or, maybe we've seen some vegan children who got sick, that kind of thing, I would say, or celebrities that are saying, I couldn't stick with a vegan diet because I was feeling sick, I would say with love to those people, please make sure that you're eating an adequate diet, whatever diet you're eating. Don't be overly restrictive. Please don't go and, restrict, say, I can't eat nuts and seeds, or I can't eat beans, I'm only gonna eat fruit. There are some people who are fruitarians, but this is a very restrictive approach to veganism. I would really encourage, if you're raising vegan children or you're vegan yourself, I'd encourage you, the best way to get all your nutrition is eat a widely varied vegan diet, okay? And then the last question, and this is specially targeted for those people here who are thinking about being vegan or are mostly plant-based, or maybe this is even something totally new for you. You've come here today, you're like, what's going on this weekend? There's Vegfest, let's go check that out. That could be fun. I love you guys for coming. You are the most important people to me in this tent. And how to get started on a vegan diet? Well, it is so easy now to get started. One thing I'll sometimes recommend to my clients is just get started with breakfast. Lots of us already eat a vegan breakfast anyway. So maybe oatmeal, avocado toast, chia pudding, overnight oats, so many wonderful, even just like peanut butter toast with a banana on top of it. It doesn't have to be really fancy, but it is so easy to start your day with a vegan diet. So start with breakfast maybe. And then move to including some lunch. Have lunch vegan. I would suggest, if it's new for you, maybe start with a couple nights a week. Maybe meatless Mondays. Meatless Mondays are really popular. Lots of families. Do you know that about half of Canadian families are trying to reduce their meat consumption? So even if they're not vegan or even predominantly plant-based, more than half of Canadian families are actively trying to reduce their meat consumption, and most buy at least some, what we would say as vegan products. Like, for example, the massive growth of dairy alternatives, right? My mother is not vegan, but she drinks almond milk, where 10 years ago she drank dairy milk, right? So these are small ways to start. Switch to a non-dairy beverage. Try a few meatless meals in the evening. Start with recipes that you love. And there are so many recipes online now. So if you love shepherd's pie, or if you love chili, or if your family loves pizza, try just Googling vegan chili. You're gonna get like 100 recipes will pop up. If it feels kind of scary and new to you to completely take the meat out of your meal, or maybe you've got a husband who just loves meat and says you need to have meat in that chili, then what you could try to do is half the meat in the chili and replace half it with lentils. Lentils and maybe some chopped up walnuts. It's delicious. And then the next time you make it, maybe reduce it down to a quarter of the amount of meat that you originally started with, and just keep moving towards being more and more plant-based. Your taste will change, your taste buds will change, your family's taste will change. When we transitioned our kids to being plant-based, it took a year. We took a year. We went slowly, We talked to them about it. We got their buy-in, their consent. They were on board. And it took a year to do that, and we moved slowly. So if you're working to transition the people you love in your life, these are ways to do it. It doesn't have to, for some people it's an overnight switch, and that's wonderful. Other people, it takes time to change to being fully plant-based. But I want to underscore, it is the best and most important thing you can be doing for your health is to eat a plant-based diet, and it's also so powerful for the environment, and there's nothing better you can be doing for the animals. All right, thank you everyone. Dr. Pamela Fergusson. So we have time for a couple quick questions right now. All of our speakers today will be back on the main stage at 5:15 for a panel discussion. But if there's anything pressing right now that you'd like to ask Pamela, we do have time for a few questions. So I'll run over here, just introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hi, thank you so much. And my name is Arun, and I've been vegan for 4 years now. And I watched this documentary called Cowspiracy, and that's when I turned vegan. And my first question, I have two questions. My first question is, I've turned vegan for ethical reasons, but I am not able to stop eating potato chips or high carb foods. I'm addicted to it. Like whenever I feel craving for other foods, I just eat them. And is there any way that I can cut off and start eating healthy? And the second question is, whenever I tell my friends or colleagues that I'm vegan, they ask me what do I eat and what do I drink. So when I tell them I drink soy milk, they come up with this question saying, you get lots of estrogen, and that will affect you. Is it true? If so, should I switch to almond milk or oat milk?
Those are fantastic questions. So I think that Wonderful. So I think your first question is that you're having a lot of cravings still for maybe some foods that are vegan, but they're kind of comfort foods, like potato chips, that kind of thing. So potato chips are wonderful. They taste absolutely delicious, but they are not the health promoting part of being vegan. So I would say there are lots of strategies to deal with that kind of thing. I mean, you could sort of look at potato chips as something that you're going to have on the weekends maybe, or you could buy like a large bag of potato chips and portion it into smaller, like sometimes it's hard when you open the whole bag. It's like if you get a big bag, it's like you want to eat the whole bag. But if you immediately portion it into smaller containers and then just take one container, if maybe you're going to take it to work, just take one container with you into servings. That can be an easier way to manage it. You can also look for healthier vegan alternatives, like kale chips, for example. Make your own kale chips if you like being in the kitchen. But it's okay to include some of those foods. But it's just that if you're looking for the health benefits, those need to be a once in a while option, not an everyday option. I'm so glad you brought up the question of soy, because I get asked that question all the time. Soy is absolutely not dangerous for our health. It is so healthy for us. And soy does have what are called phytoestrogens in them. They have a very weak estrogenic effect in the body. You would have to drink gallons and gallons, I should say liters and liters and liters of soy milk every day for it to have any impact on you at all. You can safely consume 2 to 3 servings of soy products every day. And I want to remind you that animal products have actual mammalian estrogens in them. So dairy has actual estrogen. Soy has phytoestrogens, which have a very weak effect in the body. And actually, research shows that intaking soy has no impact on male testosterone levels. So you absolutely will not grow boobs. If that worked, then all vegan women would just have massive boobs. So please don't worry about drinking soy milk. Any other questions back here?
running over. Thank you for your wonderful talk. And my question is, are there any foods that you would recommend to support healthy thyroid? Or are there any foods that you'd recommend avoiding if you're starting to have thyroid issues?
That's an excellent question. So we were just talking about soy, and I would say it's wise to avoid high intakes of more processed soy. So like, soy protein bars or like protein shakes or soy burgers, that more processed soy, maybe really only consume those occasionally, but you can still have whole food sources of soy like tofu, tempeh, soy milk, and edamame. Those are whole food or minimally processed foods. You want to make sure you have an adequate intake of iodine. Iodine can be found in iodized salt, and also in a few products. Seaweed is a good source. Potatoes, cranberries have some iodine, but you might want to take a supplement to ensure you're getting an adequate amount of iodine. And selenium is the other one. Brazil nuts are the best source of selenium. They're an excellent source, so having maybe one Brazil nut every day or a couple Brazil nuts a few times a week to make sure that you're getting enough iodine. Those are a few things to be doing with your nutrition if you have a thyroid condition.
We have time for one more.
I'm just wondering about dementia and plant-based diet, if there's any kind of link between the two.
And iron as well.
Yes, so there is some evidence that a plant-based diet reduces our risk of developing dementia, particularly consuming fruits and vegetables. And I would also say that it is wise to consider an algae-based source of omega-3 amino acids in terms of preserving brain health. So just like the B12, fish do not actually produce omega-3s. A lot of people think salmon produce omega-3s. That's actually not true. They store omega-3 in their tissue by eating sea plants, but we can just eat the sea plants ourselves, or you can take an algae derived omega-3 supplement, and those are pretty widely available now. One brand, I don't work with any brands, but one brand is NutraVeg, and you can buy that across Canada, but there are other brands as well, an algae-based omega-3. In terms of iron, iron deficiency is not more common amongst vegans and vegetarians than it is in the general population. However, iron deficiency is the most common mineral deficiency in North America. If you eat a vegan diet, you're getting non-heme iron rather than heme iron. And for some people, this can be slightly harder to absorb. So it's wise to get lots of iron in your diet, and that's easy to do on a plant-based diet. There's lots of iron in plant foods. Beans and greens will be your best sources. So again, back to maybe like lentil tacos, or like a nice big soup with lots of pulses and greens. And then squeeze on some lime maybe before you eat, because vitamin C will help you to absorb the iron in your plant-based meal. Or chop up some red peppers and add them on top of your meal to help you absorb the iron. And you can also do things like cooking in iron cookware, like cast iron cookware, or there's a product called the Lucky Iron Fish it's not actually made of fish, it's shaped like a fish, but it's made of iron, and you can drop that into your cooking pot. So if you found that you are low in iron, those are good sources. Also, you can take an iron supplement for a while to increase your levels and then go back to really being quite conscious in terms of your choices. Blackstrap molasses, I'll just say one last source, is a very tasty source of iron, and I make a really delicious gingerbread cake with my kids, and it has loads of molasses in it, so it's a wonderful source of iron. And you can add blackstrap molasses into savory dishes Like it goes beautifully into anything that you're wanting to give like a sort of meaty or umami flavor. A little bit of blackstrap molasses will help punch that flavor up.
Thank you so much. And a reminder, more questions for all of our panel speakers tonight at 5:15 right here on the main stage. Our next speaker is going to be at 2:45 this afternoon. We're talking about fitness and masculinity in the vegan community.
And just as another, whoa, geez, I'm going to pull that back a little. My apologies, everyone, including to me. So just a quick reminder again, tickets are $15 at either of the doors, and that'll get you either the Vegfest bag or the tickets for the amazing door prizes, which I'll talk about more in a second.